Hi there, it's Martin here, and welcome to this third in this trilogy of videos, short videos on mentoring, all in recognition of International Mentoring Day. So in the first video, if you haven't seen the other two videos, I highly recommend you go check them out. In the first video, it's just a recap. In the first video, we looked at what a mentor was and the benefit of having one. So we established that a mentor is somebody who has been where you are right now. So they have you want to improve something, change something, overcome something, achieve something. They've been where you are now, and they have made that change. They have made that improvement. They have overcome that thing. They have achieved that thing. And they may well be 3, 5, 10 steps ahead of you, or they may have the whole vision that you want ultimately. And they are able to share with you their journey, their experience, the stuff that worked. They're completely empathetic with where you are right now. They understand how it feels to be you right now, with all the doubts and the questions and the how am I going to make this work and the whys and all of that. But they also now know the key fundamental steps to take. And in all my experience, it tends to be that these people have spent years, sometimes even decades, figuring this stuff out. And then they're able to save you all the time, the effort, the trial, the error, the pain, the suffering, the frustration, the risk of giving up, and even money, because you can waste so much money on this program and that program and that program, trying to figure out what works and then realize that 90% of it doesn't. They've done that for you, and then they're able to take away all of that and go, here are the steps. Here's the 3 steps, the 5 steps, the 10 steps that I know fundamentally make the biggest difference in my journey. And they can condense literally years into hours for you. It is invaluable. It is priceless. In the second video, we then looked at that and said, I've got you to reflect on your journey. What is it what have you been through? What's your life experience? What life events have you got? What knowledge and experience and skills have you got that potentially you could share with somebody else? Because they're where you used to be, maybe a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and you know how it feels. I gave you, just a very basic framework of, just take a look at it and go, well, what are 3 things? What are 3 steps that if somebody was in front of you, what are the 3 things you would say that they could do next, and to break that down? So we've looked at this, and we've looked at it from your perspective. And I'll repeat this again in terms of, I believe with every fibre of my body that helping somebody else with our lived experience. So we have been through pain, suffering, frustration, trial and error, and time. We've been through that, and then we are willing to help somebody else who was where we were, so that they don't go through as much pain, suffering, and time as we did. I just think I think it's the most amazing thing that we can do as human beings, to help somebody like that. And personally, I feel like you've got an ethical and moral obligation to do that. Why would you hold on to that knowledge and knowing that somebody else is suffering? So it's such a rewarding thing. So I've got you to reflect on that. And in this video, what I wanted to do is just give you a brief outline really of what I mentor on, to bring this to life again for you. If you're kind of, I'm not sure I've got anything, or I'm not sure about what that would look like, or indeed you're going, well, what do you mentor on, Martin? Because I might be interested, right? So it's not some glorious pitch or anything like that. What I want to do is bring to life mentoring from my point of view. So if you know my story, because again, this all starts, a mentor has a story, has lived experience, and they use that. I mean, I do coaching and training, but most of what I do, being honest and transparent, is mentoring. A purist coach just asks questions, doesn't share their lived experience. A purist coach, just questions. And questions are powerful, so they have a time and a place, and I love asking questions to understand and get other people to understand. And training is great because you can ask as many questions as you like, but if you have a strategy, a blueprint, a framework that is really powerful, but they don't know it, You can ask them as many questions as they like. They're not going to come up with the strategy, the framework, the blueprint, because they don't know it. So sometimes you have to introduce that and then train somebody on how to use that. Be it the 6 human needs or the success cycle, whatever it might be. They don't know it. So then that's when the trainer part comes in. And a lot of what I do, though, is the mentorship, because I'm sharing my lived experience as to what worked for me. But then not just what worked for me, what's worked then for many, many others as I've shared it and I've researched it and I've worked with other people to figure this stuff out. So if you know my story, it's, again, trying to do this quickly for you because you don't want a great big biop. I spent 20 years in the financial services industry. So going from basically like a marketing assistant that seemed to do an awful lot of proofreading, right through to somebody who was ultimately responsible for millions of clients and billions of pounds worth of investment, pensions and profits. So quite the journey, really, that corporate ladder journey. And with that, there was restructures every 6 to 18 months. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of progression. There was a lot of great stuff in that. Did a lot of good stuff for colleagues, for clients, for the industry, involved in massive, massive projects. So there was a lot of positive stuff over that 20 years, but it took a massive, massive toll. I experienced every facet of stress. So right from that low level stress, when you just feel a bit edgy and rushed, it's like, oh, everything's a little bit of a rush because there's quite a lot to do, right through to a high stress when you just feel like everything is out of control. And that led to things like low mood and depression and generalized anxiety disorder. And then your body starts breaking down. So you start getting things like liver disease, and you definitely can't sleep. So you get insomnia, and then you get full blown burnout because your body and mind goes, I cannot cope with this anymore. And it starts shutting down on you. And then it went beyond that, where, I was in so much physical and emotional and mental pain that I started to self-harm. And then ultimately, decided to take my life. So when I say I have been through the entire spectrum of stress, and remember, this is all started from work stress. Why do I get passionate about work stress? Because I know where it ends if we don't figure it out, if we leave it unchecked. And I was that guy that said, it'll never happen to me. I'll never get burnout. It's all right. It's just a bit of stress. It's all right. It's just it's just a busy time. There was always a reason. But it built and it built and it built, and it got so out of control, and I nearly lost everything as a result. So that's why I'm so passionate about work stress. I'm very passionate about how I can help anybody, but I'm very passionate about dads in the workplace, whether you're a business owner or in corporate, because I was that dad. I was raising 2 young children at that time and an amazing wife, and everything was falling apart, and I was not spending the time with them that I needed to and I wanted to. Massive, massive cost. And ultimately there was like recovery and all that kind of stuff. And then ultimately during that, what I realized I brought meaning to my journey. Because I could have gone, oh, what a journey, and look at all the missed opportunities, and look at the health and the family and the relationships. I could have been really, really negative about it, but I didn't. I brought new meaning to go, I know why I've been through all of this. It was pain and suffering at its most horrific. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But I now know why, because now I can share my journey, and I can share my experience. I can share what I've learned as to what works, what got you out of that situation. How do you deal with these things? I know now. So I can share. I can mentor. So I then built up my own business where I could share what I learned. But man, did I have to have mentors. And it's interesting, just before I go into that, in the corporate world, I was always encouraged to have mentors. I always had mentors. And I was encouraged to be a mentor for other people. I mean, the hierarchy of an organization. So if somebody was kind of that level down from me, and I never really looked at it like that, because I'm just like, right, everybody's equal because we've got a job to do. Let's all work together. But in terms of the hierarchy, it was like somebody's coming through, or they were newly promoted. It was like I could mentor them to help them get the most out of that role, get the most out of themselves, and, set themselves up for more promotion. So I could always do that. And I had a mentor that was 3 grades above me, because I wanted to understand how they thought. How did they get to where they were? How do they see the organization? How do they see people? How do they make decisions? And that can help me in my role right now, but also with my progression. So mentoring was always something that's encouraged in the corporate world. The reality is we can not only use it in the corporate world and in our business and our professional lives, we can use it in our personal lives too, to improve, to change, to overcome or achieve anything we want to in the full roundness of our life. A little bit of a tangent, but hopefully that again brings it to life. I then went on to build my own business, but I had a lot of new mentors. So I had mentors in the corporate world, but then I had new mentors that I didn't even know existed. It was amazing. It was like seeing the world in 4K for the first time. It was probably 97K nowadays, right? And Ted McGrath, for example, taught me about my story and the hero's journey, and that's what then got me into the hero's journey. Is why all of my chapters in the books I've written, my chapter is always about the hero, a hero's anxiety, a hero's sadness, a hero's fear. So he showed me how to break down my journey, the lessons, get rid of all the fluff, the stuff that didn't work, all the distractions, what actually worked. And I was working with people like the amazing Adam Brooks, who then was able to coach me and mentor me in how to create a business that actually made a difference and how do you get it out there. And then ultimately with the likes of Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, in terms of building a program and live events. And how do you distribute that across the globe to have that reach? And now working with the likes of Frank Kern, the best email marketeer in the world, to figure out how can I then build that email list so that I can bring people into a community and add value in that way and give them different treatment to what the general public are getting in terms of social media. So I've had so many mentors because I've gone, I don't know how to do this. I need to improve this. Sometimes I need to change this, or this is an obstacle I really need to get over. I've sought mentors. So this has been my journey. And again, just reflect on your journey, because there's all of that. I can mentor on pretty much anything there. And that's kind of what's happened. My focus has been on the work stuff, because I know if we don't look at work in the kind of right way, I don't like to say right or wrong, but if you don't look at it in a certain way, if you just think you're there to do everything and you just work harder and longer to get through everything on a never-ending to-do list, just think about that for a minute. You're trying to get to the end of a never-ending to-do list and you wonder why you're exhausted and frustrated and stressed and overwhelmed. I realized that all the tools in the world, and I mentioned this previously, all the tools in the world are wonderful, but if you're looking at work in that sort of way, you're not going to use the tools. So then I was able to go, right, okay, well, how do you look at mindset? And the likes of Adam, Tony, Dean, they're just the best at mindset, right? So it's figuring out how to do that. And then it was the real tactical, practical stuff of how do I deal with my workload? How do I focus my time to get those things done? How do I distill 97 things into just 3 things a day and know exactly which is the first thing that I need to do? That's what I do. And that's what a lot of the people that come to me for this, that's what they want. What they don't realize they need is that mindset stuff first. So we work on that. And then they go, oh my goodness. And they start asking different questions of their workload and their meetings. And then that all starts gathering momentum. And then they go, and I need to focus my time because I was so bad at getting distracted and multitasking. It's like, right, we're going to cut that out, figure out some strategies there and set some boundaries. And then we do it on a consistent basis. We build the habits on a daily basis. So you'll actually having the balance they want with their family, because everybody that comes to me, they want to spend more quality time with their family. That's the number one thing. All the dads that come to me, that's the number one thing they want to do. So we have to make sure that that's deliberate and intentional. And then we have the compound effect of all of that. Why am I passionate about all of that? It's very practical. There's not a stress management technique or a coping strategy in sight. There is no mindfulness, there is no meditation, there is no yoga, there is no breath work. All of those things are wonderful, and I've done them all, and I do many of them on an ongoing basis. However, if you are stressed and overwhelmed about your workload, they will not make a difference. And even if they made a fraction of a difference, you'll then go back to your desk and be completely overwhelmed and stressed. We have to deal with the work. We have to work the problem back and go, how are we looking at things? And how are we doing them? this is what I love. And I'm sure you can see it absolutely lights me up to help people on that journey, because very, very simple things. Again, it's taken me 27 years of pain, suffering, heartache, trial and error, and tens of thousands of dollars to figure this stuff out. I can now condense all of that into literally hours. I've got like a 10-hour signature program that gives you everything you need. But I can't do that unless I've really broken down 27 years and figured out all the stuff that had worked and worked best. So this is what I'm passionate about doing. I focus on dads because I was that dad. But guess what? When I start talking to dads, I get the mums and I get people without kids, and they go, but I'm feeling like that too. Can I help? Yeah, I can. And beyond this whole stress, overwhelm, frustration, working harder, longer, trying to get everything done on never-ending to-do list. Beyond that, when you start figuring that out, when you start getting momentum on that, it is about living your most extraordinary life. It's figuring out, right, okay, well, this thing that was really getting in the way, it was getting in the way of not just work, your health, your relationships, life as a whole. Now that that's far better than it was, and you're feeling far better, and you've got a clearer head, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? What kind of life do you want with your family? What kind of experiences do you want? How do you want to live? What does your most extraordinary life look like? And that's then been the extension of what I do. I didn't set out to do that. I set out with the stress, and that is what my passion and the core thing that I do. But then it gets to a point where people want, I am feeling a bit lost. I haven't quite got that purpose, and the world's kind of opened up to me, and I don't really know what I want. And so I can help with the strategies, the framework, the blueprints that I've used to then figure that out and help them build their most extraordinary life. And part of that, that's that whole journey. And so again, if that's something that you're looking at and you're going, I am feeling a bit lost, and it's not that I'm completely overstressed, but I just know I'm not living the life that I really want to, I'm made for more, then that's something I love to help people with. And then what's happened through this journey, people have then seen my journey. They've seen what I've done. They've seen what I've built. And then they start asking me about those things. So traditional theory says just stick to one thing, Martin, and tell them about that right now. But I'm going to tell you all the stuff. So there's that work stress, that getting in control of your work so you can be calm, confident, in control. Then there's the extraordinary life. What does my most extraordinary life for me, for my family, what does it look like? And then go away and build that. Two other areas that then people have been asking me about as a result of me and my journey and me sharing my journey. One is confidence. So as part of my journey, I had rock bottom. You can imagine if somebody is going to take their life, they have absolute rock bottom self-esteem and confidence. And I went through a 12-step process, and it changed everything. And it was during that process, I literally stood up in therapy and went, I know why I'm here. And I know what I've got to do. It was such a profound moment. So that 12-step process, I haven't made it my own. I've not copied it and re-engineered it. I haven't rebranded it. I literally used the exact 12-step process that I used, the materials that I used with people. And I have managing directors of global banks go through this program, go through this mentoring. So confidence is something that I'm very passionate about, because I know what it's like to be rock bottom with that. And I also know what it's like to then stand up and go, oh my goodness, I get it. I know who I am. Absolute magical feeling. And the other thing that people have then come to me about is my business, because they've seen that I've set up a business. I've moved from corporate and I've set up my own business, which is no mean feat and comes with a hell of a roller coaster of a journey, no matter if you've got mentors or not. There's a lot. If you've got mentors, it's going to be a heck lot easier and simpler and less emotional than it would. It would certainly take less time, but that doesn't mean that all those things still don't exist, because it is a big thing. But I've set up my business, and you'll see I'm prolific on social media. I'm doing generally speaking, it's around about 40 to 60 posts a day across all social media. Most people can't do one a day. I'm doing 40 to 60 posts a day. And when there are launches and things, I've been known to do over 300 posts a day. So when it comes to social media, I'm not saying I haven't got the biggest lot of followers or anything like that. But when it comes to prolific, getting your message out there, when it comes to being on video, this isn't perfect by a long shot. It doesn't need to be, as long as the message is on point. So they see me on video, go, oh, I could never do that. I'm not confident enough to go on video. How do you do it? Or what's the setup? What's all the equipment? And you wouldn't believe behind the scenes what the equipment is. It's so simple and basic. But people see me doing that, and they see me go, you've written these books. You've got these chapters in these books. How did that come about? And they see me on stage, and they go, what? You're a speaker, and oh God, I can never do that. But I've just been asked if I would, and I'm like petrified. I can help with that. And so they see my business, and they see me with the likes of Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi with their like Project Next and their Own the Future challenges, and the programs that I've built as a result of that, the live events that I've built as a result of that. And they come to me and go, can you help me? Can you help me with that? And some of these people are wanting my help because they don't want it to be quite so rah-rah. They don't want it to be quite so intense, because a lot of these things are quite intense and there's quite a momentum and a pace. But there's a space for people to do it in their own space and to feel like they've got time to figure it out and have somebody to guide them through it. So people are now asking me about that side of my business, and it's an absolute joy. It's not something I set out to do, but it's something that, as a result of sharing my journey, of doing my lived experience, people now ask me about it. So that's me. I know that was a lot, but maybe there was something in there that helped spark some ideas for you to go, well, wow, actually, I've done something similar, or I've got something similar, or it's not quite the same, Martin, but I could see where there's a parallel and maybe I could do this. And then actually, some of these things are very simple. So you're not saying it has to be complicated and something massive. No, not at all. It could be the simplest of tips that can help somebody. Because if only they did this, this, and this. And it's so simple. It's something they could do right now, right here, today. And it would make all the difference. But they don't know what those things are. A lot of that stress, the stress stuff I do. I say stress, it's not. It's about taking control of your time and your work and your life. Some of the things are so simple that you just can't believe the impact they're going to have. But my goodness, do they have an impact. And when you then have the compound effect of them, it transforms everything. So don't overcomplicate it. But I hope this has been useful in understanding where I come from, my story, if you didn't know it, what I mentor on, what I coach on, what I train on. But like I said, most of what I do is mentorship, because it's sharing what I've learned. And I do it with heart and passion because, like I said, I know what happens. Like the ultimate, worst case scenario, I know what happens if we don't get a handle on these things. And I don't want anybody to go through that. That's my purpose now. I don't have a job or a career. It's my purpose and my passion. And it's an absolute privilege to share it. So I hope you have got massive value from this series of 3. I hope it's really got you reflecting on where you might be able to get mentorship into your life for the things that you want to improve, change, overcome and achieve. But equally, I hope it's given you some reflection on what you might be able to help somebody else with. And get that feeling that just lights you up because it's purposeful, it's meaningful to you, it's your story, your journey, your learning, and you know the difference it can make. And equally, I hope you've got to know me a little bit better, and I hope this has been useful for you. And again, if there's anything that here resonates with you to go, actually I'd like to explore that more with you, Martin, then just drop me a message or send me a DM or a comment, or indeed book a call with me. And equally, if this has now spurred you on to go, oh, share whatever it is, you go, oh, I get it now, Martin, this is what I could share it below, share it with the world. Because maybe somebody else, me or somebody else, might be able to help you make something of that. Or indeed, somebody might say, hey, that's exactly what I would like. And there's no greater feeling, I can tell you now. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope you've got that massive value from these 3 videos. If you've got questions, queries, then please do let me know. And I can't wait to serve you more help you, support you with your journey through life, through business, navigating this thing called life, and catching up with you in my next video. Thank you so much.